Okay, so as I said, static variables or static members, whether it is variable or a method, they are all declared and they remain at class level. They are not part of any object, right? So whenever you use this keyword called new, right, new and some class name, we have seen a program earlier based on shapes. So when I do this new square, what I'm doing here is I am creating a object. So an object will be created. This creates an object. Before this, object is not created. So if you have a class and this statement is not there anywhere in your program, that means you are not creating the object. An object will be created only when this new statement will be executed. So that is the first thing. So when you create an object, the Java runtime environment, that is called JRE, what does this do? It actually creates, so when you say this new, right, so your program runs in the memory of computer, and there it creates object, right? So for creating an object there must be a square class. Let's say this is the square.java source file. So your square.java source file will be containing the class called square. So it will have a class declaration called square. We have seen this already, right? So something will be there in this class. So this
Mhm.
is the class definition. Now based on this class definition, what happens, or what does your JRE do once this statement is executed, is that creates or it, you can say it allocates a memory in the memory itself, right? So a part of the memory is reserved for this. So this is the object of what type? Of type square, square. So this is an object of which type? Of this type, right?
Mhm.
So this is object and this is class. Now if you have something static here, say for example, if your main is static, or there can be other functions, other variables as well. If anything is static, mostly it will be main. If there is a main, it will be static. So if main function is here, then, and let's say there are other variables like abc or some other function like def. So this abc and def will be part of this object, but main will not be part of that. Main will stay here in the class because it is static. And normally, main is normally means, if you see 100 programs, executable programs, in 100 out of 100 you will find that the main is static. Now main is static because the main is the first function which has to be executed. So the first statement in your program which has to be executed is the execution of, or the starting of, main function. So your object cannot be created. You have not yet created. You means JRE. JRE has not yet created the object of your class. So without creating an object, this function has to be called, and that's why this main function is normally static function, right? So
Yeah.
that is about the static. Static remains in the class. It is not part of the object. And
Mhm.
that's why in this main function, which is a static function, if you want to access anything which is part of an object, so here see abc is here, but here it is only written. These things are not live, you can say. They don't have any life. They are not live entities. They are just framework. They are just a blueprint based on which actual interacting objects are created, which are created here, right? So you may see this written right here, here and here, but this is only a text file. Text file doesn't run. It is the executable file which runs, and in executable file this main is part of class. When the class is loaded, right? There is something called in JRE, there is one more, there is a part of JRE called class loader. So what it does is, what happens actually is when you create a square.java class, after that you will have to execute it. In order to execute it, first you have to compile it. Now when you use IDEs like IntelliJ IDEA and all, you don't get to know all these things happening in background. But normally what will happen is a command called javac you will have to execute. Javac is nothing but, are you aware of this?
No, not Java C.
Okay, javac
Or,
is nothing but Java compiler.
oh, okay, okay.
What does compiler do? So you give it the file name. For example, you will give it the file name that is square.java, which has Java, which have a class called square. So the output of this is that it will create a square dot class file. So this is a compiled file. So this is the class file. Now next thing which happens is you write this Java, and after that square dot class. So this is the compiler, and the second one which you are seeing here, this is the JRE, that is nothing but Java runtime environment. This is the Java. This Java runs your compiled file, which is nothing but this square dot class,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in square dot class, you have the compiled instructions of your square dot Java class. So square.java file. So square.java you have written in a language which you are able to understand. The machine doesn't understand it, or the Java doesn't understand that. So that's why Java has given you a compiler which will compile or translate your file square.java in square.class. And now this square.class has to be executed. The first stage of, or one of the stages of execution is that Java actually uses its class loader. It's like this. If I ask you a question, right, in order to answer that question, the concept, the data, everything should be there in your mind, in your brain, right? So it has to be loaded in your brain first. Then only you will be able to answer that question. So the same thing happens here. When you want a program to get executed, that program is nothing but the set of instructions. So those set of instructions has to be loaded in the memory of your program, memory of your computer. That part is called, or that action is called loading. Somewhere or sometime in your course you will study these different processes like linking, loading. You must have studied it earlier, or you will study it later, but you will study these things. So linking and loading, so out of this, loading is nothing but whatever your instructions are, the translated instructions, loading of those instructions into the memory, the RAM, that is called loading. So here also in JRE you have something called class loader, which does this operation of loading the class to the memory. So this will be loaded into the memory. At that time, there is no object created. So class is loaded. In class, you will have several instructions. So those instructions are part of class, and class is loaded into the memory. But object is not yet created. When object is created, when it encounters a new keyword. Without this new keyword, object won't be created. So that is the sequence, or that is, you can say, the steps which are taken when you are actually running a program in this IDE, which we have seen, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
you uh, when you run this right file, you can see this out folder is there. If you go to that out folder, and if you go to this file structure, if you, let me see if I can go to the open in Explorer. Okay. So this is the location where your output file is. And if you go to this GUI sample, you will see whatever classes we had, right? For example, calculator engine, hello world. simple calculator. So as I said, I have shown you here in this, right, that your
Mhm.
square dot Java class is converted to square dot class. So you can see here as well, you have all those dot class files here
Yeah.
related to this project. If you go to a project before this, I think this March 3, let me see what all files are here. Yeah, so here you can see all the dot class files of rectangle, shape, square, triangle, all these are the dot class files. So how this is created? This is created by the Javac, which is a compiler. So compiler does that. After that, when you execute the program, this is loaded into the memory, right? So let us see that as well. Let's go to this hello world first. Is that, oh, sorry. Let's go to this hello world.java and let's run this. Now, before running this, I'll open the task manager. So in task manager, you can see there is IntelliJ, IDEA and everything, right?
Mhm.
These are different applications which are running, and there are some background processes as well. We'll focus on the applications itself. And now I'll run this hello world.java. There is a problem. Okay, this problem is due to other file. Okay, so this is that simple window which has nothing, right? But now you can see here there is this open JDK platform binary which was not available earlier, but now you can see it has this hello world application running. So this task manager shows you the programs which are right now being executed, or that is nothing but the programs which are part of the memory, which have been already loaded into the memory. So this is what happens. And what do we see here is that, like you can see a notepad is there, there is a window explorer is there, all those applications are running on its own, but this hello world is running under OpenJDK platform. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It is different from others. The reason for that is the platform, in order to make this Java programs, you must have studied platform independent. The same Java program can run on Windows as well as Linux as well as Mac. So the reason for that, or how it happens, is normally you will have your hardware, for example your laptop, your PC. On top, when you purchase that hardware like CPU, RAM and all these things, and you assemble that, after that you install an operating system on that, right? And whatever program is running in your system, that runs, or that is being run by this operating system. So if you are having a paint operation, that will be run by this OS. If you are running a, say, media player, so even that will be executed, or that will be taken care by or handled or managed by this OS. So that is what generally happens. But what happens in Java is that instead of having hardware and operating system, and on top of that directly application, you have hardware first. Once hardware is done, then, or configured, then you go for OS, you install the OS, and on top of OS you install something called JRE, that is Java Runtime Environment. So it acts as a, it provides you all the things which are necessary for executing a program. That's why it is called Java Runtime Environment. So during runtime of a program, whatever things, whatever requirements are there, is provided by this JRE instead of OS. So here it was provided by OS. Here it is provided by JRE. Obviously, JRE doesn't do anything on its own. It uses the functionalities or features or services of OS. Now the hello world is actually running under this Java runtime environment. So that's why when you open the task manager, when we have opened it, you saw that hello world is not being run as an independent process or independent application. It is being run under the JDK, or simply you can say under the Java runtime environment. So that is one thing. So here you have seen that this program was not there when it was not, I mean, it was not shown in the task manager earlier. When we clicked it, when we click the run button here, right, it started showing, or that program was now listed in the task manager as well. So this process is called loading. So now we see what we do here in IDE. When we use any IDE, like there are many Java IDEs like NetBeans or Eclipse or this uh, IntelliJ IDEA. So all of them do the same thing. In background, they are actually executing those programs like Java C to compile and Java to run the program. So that is the one thing which happens. And now going back to this, why we are studying this here? Because we want you to explain the concept of static. So if there is something static, it remains in the class. It is not part of the class. Is also in memory, object is also in memory, but even if you create an object, those things which are static, they won't be part of object. In order to create an object, you must call this function called, or this statement, new statement must be executed. If there is no new statement, that means your program is not going to create any object. Done.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
is what static is. Now in our case, if you go back to this, right, generally, if you, let me see if we have the, okay, in square, rectangle, those shape program, right there we have seen these things, 4 different files. None of them had main. And whatever, whenever we had to create an object of a particular type of class, we used to do it in another class called main.java, right? So those things we have already seen. So here also, if you see this simple calculator, the problem was coming due to this. Now I hope you will understand. Calculator engine, or before actually going into this program, let me explain the design of that program, what is actually happening in that simple calculator program. So we have 2 classes. We have a simple calculator class, and we have a calculator engine. We are using this calculator engine to do what? To do the backend operations. So this is the backend operations class, and this is the front end class, right? So here in this class, what all things do you have? You actually have a static main function, and everything is part of that main function, right? So whether it is a button, or whether it is a field, or whether it is a label, all those things are where? They all are part of this static method called main.
Mm-hmm.
Now calculator engine does what? So it has a button. In this button, you have actually assigned it to calculator engine. That means you are saying that the event handler, that when this button is clicked, then the calculator engine should take care of that, or calculator engine will have the code to handle that event, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this calculator engine has what? It has a, you can say, event listener. So event listener is here. So when this button is clicked, that event listener is a function which is going to be called. How to establish this relation? So this is the point where we have established this relation. Done.
Yeah.
Now, So this we have already done. We have actually created a dummy button and a dummy listener, which just pops up, right? And it just shows nothing important and something which we have seen yesterday. So that is the part, that is a dummy work which this event listener was doing yesterday. Obviously, we don't want that. We want it to be a proper application. In a proper application, for example, this calculator, when you are going to press, let's say we have num1 for field, num2 field, and you have a add button. So when this add button is clicked, you actually want this result field to be updated.
Right.
That is what you want. So when this add button is clicked, what will happen? It will go to this event listener. But what does that event listener has to do now? It should first read input. Second, it should perform operations, and third, it should display result. Now what you have done here is, by saying that buttons event listener is calculator, calculate or calculator engine or whatever, you have specified that which method has to be called when this button is being clicked. So that is understood. But now the problem is, it has to read input and display result. Where is the input? Input is here in this field. Where is input? It is here. Where we have to do the output? In the same fields. So these fields are part of what? These are part of simple calculator. Clear? That class.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how will this event listener get access to these things, these fields, which are part of simple calculator? So that means what? You should be giving calculate, I mean, there should be a method to pass data from here to here and from there to here as well. There should be a mechanism to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we know that this event listener is a function, so we can pass data to this. But you can see there are a lot of data in this program. There are two field which should be given, whose data should be given. But in some other program, there can be more than two fields, or there can be only one field, there can be 100 fields. So like that, it becomes very tricky. So how to do this? So one option of, or one option what we have is that you pass this entire object, the simple calculator, right? So simple calculator should be created. There should be a simple calculator object which will have all the buttons, all the fields, all the labels, all those things. And this entire thing, if there is a mechanism to pass this entire object, bundle it and pass it to this, it will become easy.
Yeah.
Now if this object is part of this event listener, it will become easy. But the problem is, even if you create an object of this class, you won't be having these buttons, fields and labels in this object, because those buttons, fields and labels are part of main function, and main function is a static function. Did you
Right.
understand?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Understood, right? So that
Yeah.
means what? This should be made available in the object. So for that, we'll have to do few things now, few changes in our program. That is, first, this simple calculator class has to be modified in such a way that these are object variables and not the static variables. Because it is part of a static main function, it will always remain static.
So can
So
you remove the word static for main? Like, is that
what?
like for the main? Can you just remove the word static and not make it
Okay. So
static?
that we have understood earlier, right? That main is the first function which has to be executed. And
Also, it
if
has
you
to be
remove
static.
static, if you remove static, then main becomes part of object.
Yeah.
Now, if it is
Oh, then
part
it
of
won't. Okay.
object, then you should first create an object of that class and then you call the main. So we'll do
Yeah.
something similar to that. Not exactly that, but something similar to that. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so this is one change which we have to do first, that we have to make these variables, buttons, fields, labels, these should be made object variables so that it becomes easy for us to pass this object to calculator engine. So we'll do that first. So when this complete object is part of calculator engine, then that calculator engine can get hold or access of any field and it can update, it can get data from this and even update those fields. So we'll see how to do that. And let's see here the error which you are getting, because we were passing this in the calculator engine. I was passing this. This refers to the current object. It is a special keyword which refers to the object, the current object. But the problem is we are using this inside main. Main is static. So
Oh,
not going to be part of any object. And in that you are saying that you pass this object. So that's why it is wrong. So we will make some changes here. First is what all these things, that is window content, I mean this JPanel, this label, text field, all these things, we want it to be accessed or we want it to be created when the object is created. So this, we want it to be part of an object. So we will put it or we will move it outside the main function, which is a static function. Remember, main will be always static. So here, if I want to now add these with, so first thing is what? We will move these variables to outside the main method.
mm-hmm.
So whatever function, whatever variables we have, right? These variables, label number one, field number one, label number two, field for number two, all these things, what I'll do is I'll move it outside and keep it here, right? So now that is done. Now, when this is only to specify the variable names, objects, or these you can see they are also related to class. They are a variable of type class. They are still not an object. So these small components are also objects. So you can say that you have a object in an object. So when you will be creating the simple calculator object, these things will be created inside that object, right?
Okay.
So earlier in the previous class or in the previous program where we had that rectangle,
Yeah.
rectangle, square, and all those, there was a relationship between the classes that was actually is a relationship. One class was extending other class. For
Mm-hmm.
example, square extends rectangle. So that relationship is actually a generic to specific or generic to specialized class relationship. We say that every square is a rectangle. But here I want to say that a simple calculator has a. So it is not is a, it is has a relationship. A simple calculator has a label. It has one more label for number two. It has a label for displaying sum. It has a field for inputting the numbers. It has three fields actually, two fields for numbers and one field for result. And it has a button. So everywhere, what is the word I am using? Connecting word, has a. So the relationship here is has a. It actually tells you about uh, it says that an object contains another object. While in the previous case, the shape program, it was not has a relationship. It was is a square was not having a rectangle. A square was a special rectangle. So we say square is a rectangle and special is hidden there. So square is a special or specific rectangle.
Right.
While here it is has a relationship. So this is what we have moved it from the main, that is static, to there. So let me change it to this. I mean, now we are not creating we are not declaring this, right? New variables. So that's why I'm removing the data types of all the fields, of all the
So
components
I
here.
noticed that you wrote jpanel um like window content outside of the static.
Yeah,
So
even
for flow layout, would we put that outside of static too?
no, because I won't be using it outside. It's not an object which will be used, or which will have something which must be part of the window. It is just something which, it is something which just does some operation, and that's all. So
Okay.
it just you can say it fixes the layout. It doesn't have anything else which
Okay.
should be part of the window. So that's why I have written it inside. But the thing is, now you can see all these variables are now in red color. That means there is a problem there. Problem is that again, this main is a static function. So actually what we are going to do is, we are going to, these buttons and all should come into existence only when an object of this simple calculator is created. So that's why I'll make it part of an constructor. You can see all the errors are gone, right?
Yeah.
By making just one change. You have any confusion here?
Uh,
Now there is no main.
right.
So now these are object variables because there is no static keyword. And because these are objects, we have to give them, we have to initialize them. So in simple calculator method, which is nothing but the constructor method, we are doing the same thing. All the initialization part, which was done in the main function, if you remember, right? It was all done in the main function. Now it is being done in the simple calculator method, which is nothing but a constructor. And now it doesn't give you any error. So whatever was the part of main, we have moved it from main to the class. From main to the class, that means we have made all of them as object variables.
But would we still have to include a main in this?
We will do that because that is the entry point of the program, so we must do it. But you can see now that error is gone, and even this error is gone,
Yeah.
because now it knows that this is not something which is static. So if it is static, there won't be any object to this. I mean, it can be used even without creating an object. So that's why it was not allowed. But now you can see in the calculator engine, I am able to pass this, and the error is gone. And what have I done? So I have created a calculator engine object. In that object, I have passed this entire object, right? And after that, what I have done, the button sum, I have set its action listener to this calculator engine. So that means whenever this sum button will be clicked, this calc engine object will take the responsibility of handling that event. So what is calc engine object? It is an object of type calculator engine. So what does it actually do? It is defined here. So there is a calculator engine function. It does nothing here. Sorry, here. Whenever that action is performed, this action performed method will be called. And right now, nothing happens here.
Right.
So we'll write this code here. So now we have two things left. That is, we have to specify, we have to write the instructions, right? What all instructions has to be, or what all has to be done when that action is performed. So this part is left. And obviously, you have this class, you have this constructor, but you have not yet created any object of this class. So we will have to do that as well. Now that can be done in a separate file. So we can create a different file and do all these things, or you can do it here itself. It's up to you. Let's say we create a main class, main function here itself. So this is the main function. In this main function, what do we have to do? We have to create this object. That's all. Once this object is created, see, all the things will happen in the same thing. When the object is created, this simple calculator method, which is nothing but the constructor, that will be called. Always remember, whenever an object is created, its constructor is called. If you have written your constructor, that constructor will be called. If you have not provided any constructor, there is a default constructor in Java, concept of default constructor. So that default constructor, which is not visible, even that will be called and it will be executed. That will simply it will allocate some space in memory for that object, and it will have all these fields or members. So that's all. But here we want something else to happen. We don't just want these to be created. We want, like, for example, if there is a label, it should have number 1 as the content, number 2 as a constant. So all these things, we want it to happen like this. So that's why we have created our own constructor and done. But this constructor has to be called. How to call this constructor? Constructor is called just by creating an object. So you actually create a simple calculator. SC is equals to new simple calculator. That's all. That is how your calculator object will be called. Now, if you execute it, it is done. The simple calculator class is done. There is nothing left here. So you can simply select that simple calculator class and execute it, and it will execute without any problem. But this add button is not active here. It doesn't do anything. So you are clicking this. So when you are clicking this, what happens here is, when you are clicking, because you have this, you have assigned action listener on that button to calculator or calc engine. So that calc engine means in calc engine you have this action performed. So this action performed will be called, but you can see there is nothing in this. So because there is nothing here, it's not getting executed. I mean, you don't see anything. You don't see any action happening there. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so next, what we are going to do is yesterday we have seen a very small dummy, just alert box was coming there. Obviously, that is of no use to us. So today I'm not going to do that. Today we'll do some concrete or some meaningful activity on this when this button is pressed. So the first thing which we are going to do now is in this, that it should read the numbers from those fields. So how to access that field? So you can see here, what I was saying earlier was has a relationship. So here you can see you have that has a relationship here as well. Simple calculator is part of calculator engine. So calculator engine has simple calculator. And how do you assign, how do you or how do you make it or assign any value to it? Here you are doing that. In the constructor of simple calculator, you are specifying that whatever comes as the in the constructor of calculator engine, here you are specifying that it should take one object of type simple calculator, and that is what you have done here. Here in calculator engine, you have passed this, which is an object of type what? Of the current class. What is the current class? Simple calculator. So this is done. But now you have to access them. And you can see when I type calc, and because calc is the name of that simple calculator object, which is part of calculator engine. Now, if I press dot, it gives me all these fields. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So that means what? Through this calc object, now that all the members of the object are visible to me. Earlier, I was not even able to pass that object, but now that object has come here. So if you want to have a diagrammatic explanation for this, so what is that? You have an object of type calculate engine, right? This object has a reference or a variable of type it has an object and a action perform method. So it has a method and this object. And what is this object? This object is nothing but simple calculator object. And what is the name of that object we have given there? Calci. Do you see that here?
Yeah.
So there is calculator, which is part of calculator engine. So this is what we have done. Okay, and that's why you are able to access these fields here. So calc, say, what do you have to do? As you have seen here, we have I mean, in the last diagram I have shown you, right, that this has different fields. We have to get the input, the two steps, read the input, perform operations, and write output.
Right.
This is what we have to do. So now we are going to complete these three steps in this action perform method. So first you have to read it. So calc dot, from where you have to read? You have to read from this field. What was the name of the field? It was FLD num1. So in this field, there is a number. That number you have to read. So to read, you will see that there is an inbuilt function called get. So when you type get, because that is a text field, so it will have a variable method called get text. So when I use this get text, it will give me what? It will give me the number. Done. But that number I'll have to store somewhere. So I'll create a variable called number1 is equals to this. Oh, there is an error now. So what do you think should be the error? Without actually going into the hint, what do you think should be the error? So we will have to learn this.
That, like,
yeah,
when you get text, doesn't it come as a string?
Correct. So it will be a text, which is a string, and we have to store it in a number. So this cannot be done directly. So there should be a mechanism to convert the string to integer. So there is a mechanism to do that. What is that? Because we have to convert into integer. So you will have to write integer dot parse int. So it does parsing means it processes. So it processes whatever text you give it to it. So the text which you are going to give it is this calc dot field dot get.
Right.
Now that error is gone. So this get text will give you the text, and that text will be passed to the parseInt function. So you can actually write it in two steps as well for better clarity, but with experience, you should be able to write it the way it was written earlier. So you can actually write it like this: string let's say num1 text is equals to this, and here you pass that num1 text.
Right.
So instead of doing it in two steps, what we have done here is that this is what is going to be stored in num1 text, right? So this itself we copy from here and pass it as input to this parseInt function, right? So just a shortcut or a short method of writing the same thing, basically function of a function, you can say. Similarly, you will do for the second number as well. So it has to be read from second field, and you store it in another variable called number2. Then what else? You will have another integer variable for sum, and that will be what? That will be num1 plus num2. Done.
Mm-hmm.
What next? Next, we have to
Display it in the
display it in
sum
the result field or
field.
the sum field. Yes. So for that, we will have to do what? Yeah, calc. In calc, you had the field for result, field result dot, just like get text gives you the text, set text will set the text to what? To sum. Now there is an error here as well, because just like get text give you text or string, set text expects a string.
String.
So here it expects a string. So you, there is a function called toString, but toString is available with integer, not int. So this sum we will change to integer, so that here I can use an inbuilt function called toString. So now you see even that problem is gone.
Yeah.
So now our program is done. At least the basic functionality is done. So let's run this simple calculator again and see whether we are getting the sum or not. So 23, 34, add, sum is 57. You are able to see that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Done. So it is working. If I change this to say 45 and add it again, it gives us 79. A very basic calculator. It's a basic GUI application. You cannot say that it is a calculator, but yes, something similar to that we have uh, achieved. Any doubt?
Right. No.
Did you understand the entire process, what we have done?
Yeah.
So right now you have to understand what we have done. In next class, I'll explain you the the things in finer details later. But here this you will have to observe it. So I'm actually recording this session. I'll forward it to you. Whenever you get time, you go through that again and try to note down your doubts, that whatever I am doing, what is the reason behind that? What is that thing? For example, I have not taught you what is implements. So what is that? Right? So
Yeah.
those things you try to note down by going through the video again or on your own, so that we
Mm-hmm.
can cover that in the next session. Before that, a very simple change or enhancement we'll do in this. What is the time? Okay, we'll do few enhancements. First, what if now I want to add another button? Say, for example, I want to add a button for difference as well. So now see how easy it becomes for us. Once this basic code is done, now enhancement is very easy. J button for diff, button for diff. This is the name of the variable. It's not yet created. Where it is being created? Here button sum is created. So here itself, I'll add code for creating diff button as well. And it will have diff as the text. And the name is diff. Done. Now coming to the event listener. Now, what are we going to do? There are two options. One is create a different action listener for this button. Do you understand?
Okay. Yeah.
So just like we have a calculator engine here, I'll rename it to calculator engine sum or calculator sum engine. And I'll create another duplicate class saying calculator engine difference. And what will be the difference between these two classes? Only this. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So there will be only one difference between these two classes, that instead of having sum is equals to num plus 1, I'll write there difference is equals to num minus num2. Right? So it doesn't make sense to have two duplicate files, two different files having only one difference. Does
Right.
it make sense? Right? No. So that's why there should be a mechanism, or there should be a better mechanism. So what will be that? What I'm going to do here is, another strategy is, in this action performed, what if I have something, I have some mechanism through which I can identify whether the event is being raised by add button or difference button. So first, let me do that. I will add this difference button to the window content. That's all. This is done. And now if you execute it, you will have a difference button. Obviously, there won't be any. So there is nothing here. So if you add 23 here, 34 here, difference doesn't work. Add works, difference doesn't work, right? So we have to now add the functionality to this. So I want the same class to be reused. Instead of creating another class, it will be good if I am able to do that. So basically, this is what I want to do. Even the button for difference will have the same event listener. So that means what? Now this event listener, it is the responsibility of this event listener to take care of this, to, to be able to differentiate whether the event is being raised, the button click event is being raised by add button or difference button. So that has to be differentiated here. So how to do that? So actually, this thing which you have not yet asked, that what is the purpose of this? This actually, the main purpose of this is that it is actually, and as you can see here, it is the event. It is the event object. Everything which you can think of will be changed into an object, will will be an object. That is what object oriented program is. So that event is also an object. So when you come here, irrespective of whether it is sum or difference, you will have to have this number one and number two. So you got that. After that, what you have to do? You have to decide from which button it has come. So if you write this E, right, which is an object of type action event. So E dot, and see, you have so many things, so many methods related to E. And the first one itself is of our use. That is, it will give you the source. But the thing is, both the sources are same. Both the sources are of same type. Both are of type button. So, and you can see here, when you type this, right, the return type of this get source is what? It gives you an object. It doesn't say that it is a button or text field or whatever, but it just says that it is an object. So first thing what you have to do is you have to get hold of this button first. So for that, we will have a J button type of variable here. Let's say that is, we name it clicked button is equals to E dot get source. So there is an error because E dot get source give you an object. Object is very generic. We know that it is a button, so we want to store it in a button so that we can get things related to button. For basically what we want is, we will be able to differentiate whether it is coming from add button or difference button by checking the label of that button. So we want to check that. That's why we have written it as, I mean, the type of this click button is J button. But there is an error because of type mismatch. So we will use typecasting here. So this is how we do explicit typecasting. That is, whatever get source was giving, which was an object, that object will be changed to J button type object, and that will be stored in, or that will be pointed by this click button variable. And now in this click button, you have the text. That is, yes, so clicked button dot get text. This gives you the text of that button. And let's say we will store it in a string button label or button text is equals to this. And based on this, now this button text can be add or difference. So if it is add, we have to do something else. If it is difference, we have to do something else. So we will use a switch case for this. So switch button text. This button text can be add. If it is add, okay, a better, I can create a variable called sum and difference, two different variables, or I'll actually use a single variable called integer result. Let's set it to 0 initially, or we'll see what happens if I don't set it to 0. Case add, other case will be diff. Add is what? Add is the label there. So if it is coming from that button whose text is add, then we will set the result to num1 plus num2 and break. Else, if it is case of diff, actually there is only one f in that label, then what we have to do, we have to do the similar thing, but here we will have to subtract. Done. And then whatever result we have, that result we will display in the result text field. Okay, so now you can see there is an error here. It shows this error is because what if it's none of them? What if it is neither add neither diff? If say suppose there is a third button which is not there, but suppose if there is a third button and we have missed to write that, then there may be chances of error, right? So that's why we initialize it to 0. And once you do that, that error is gone. So now you can see you have only one calculator engine which takes care of both the buttons. That is button 1 and button 2, button for add and button for subtraction, right? So now let's execute that once again. Okay. So here I have written some other, it should be actually difference, so that you can, I mean, not difference, should be result or something that you can do it later. The main thing is whether whatever we have tried, whether that is working or not. So 23 plus 34, if I do add, it is 57, correct. There is no problem in that. What if I change it to diff? So difference is minus 11, correct?
Yeah.
34, 34, difference is 0. 34, 23, difference is 11. Add is 47, difference. Everything is working. Both the buttons are working. Okay. So I hope it was better than yesterday's experience.
Yeah, no, it made more sense. I think it was just a lot of information I was getting. I think just it was just a lot. So I think I needed some time just to process it.
No problem, no problem. So yesterday, I think you somehow forgot what was static and why it was being done like that. So
yeah, but now it makes sense.
Now it makes sense, right? Okay,
yeah.
No problem. So that's good, better. So go through this. I have already recorded it, so I'll forward you the video as well. Go through the video as well whenever it is required, and I hope you have already made some notes and all. So you may find some more difficulty, some more problems, or some more issues in this program. So whatever you have, make note of that. And in our next class, we'll try to go through this program itself, and we'll touch those concepts which we have deliberately skipped at this point of time. I mean, the explanation which we have, explanation in details, I have skipped, right? So that we'll cover in the next class.